Yeah, everyone, I'm back. That is right, I ran across the room, and I am back because this year, more than ever, I shipped more code and more products than I ever have in my entire life. And in fact, my entire team has. And it's just been astonishing as you kind of come together the day yesterday and the day today, and how this all comes together to ship real applications that are infused with AI, that are AI native, and using these amazing developer tools. So what I want to do in the next 15 minutes or so is walk through some of the applications and some of the products that I shipped and how I did it and how I brought these things all together. So let's get into it. Go. And the first thing, every single thing that you are gonna see is straight vibes. That's right. Everything was built with vibes. Vibes only. That's what we're all about, no matter what. Because it's a great vibe when you're in the code, when you're working with these tools, and you are in the flow. Just like you're in the flow of coding, when that IntelliSense is coming up and this next set of suggestions are coming up, everything here, all built with vibes, off my dome, into agent mode, let's go. So what have I built? Well, this year I've refreshed, I've updated, I've built brand new applications in more different programming languages than ever before. If you know me, I'm a C#.NET developer, so this year I shipped brand new applications across Blazor, .NET MAUI, Blazor WebAssembly, Server, and so much more. But I've been learning, I've been experimenting with a whole bunch of new React and Vite and TypeScript apps, a bunch of new WinForms apps that kind of satisfy my needs for the type of application on Windows. And then also more recently, I've been experimenting with some native iOS applications written in Swift, SwiftUI, and Swift Data. So what do those look like? Let's get into it. First, me and my wife, we play tons of board games, and we needed an app, so I built one. I built my Scorekeeper, which is available at myscorekeeper.app, so we can keep track of our scores. And then we went on our phones, so I took that application, put it in an iOS app with Blazor Hybrid. I go to a lot of bingo with me and my wife. I built a lot of apps for me and my wife. The bingo MC was using a terrible app, so I built a brand new application so we could do custom bingo games, upload it, and this has been super fun to go and do. We're in 100% all with vibes in like one night. I also took my personal LLC that I have off on the side where I do podcasts and my app development. I gave it a brand new fresh redesign. I really love those MCP badges to one-click install, so I built a website to easily search the MCP registry and add a bunch of other things like VS Code extensions, packages, and a bunch more. And I vibed it all out 100% with Copilot. We do a bunch of podcasts like the VS Code Insiders podcast that you should subscribe to right now. Search in your podcast application for VS Code Insiders and it's going to be there. And I wanted to visualize all these stats from that podcast and also other ones that I do. So I created a beautiful pod stats application that I can upload the CSV and it parses and visualizes all the data, which is absolutely astonishing. I started building this application trim tally on a flight to Japan, which I talked about with Jay yesterday. I was getting onto a flight and I had this beautiful prompt of an app idea that I wanted, and I started building it out. And I now have it being tested by tons of folks. If you actually go to my Twitter account, you'll see a link to test flight that you can test it yourself. It's a beautiful liquid glass design for both iOS and Mac. And because every app needs a website, I vibe coded out a full website. So TrimTally has a beautiful website with all the features, 100% vibed with Copilot and deployed to GitHub Pages. And then the biggest thing that I built that I'm going to talk through is feedback flow. And why I built it, how I built it. This is a full, huge production application that I started at the beginning of the year. Now, feedback flow is a tool that I use to help analyze different social media posts, videos, Hacker News articles, and a lot more to help get product feedback in a really easy, consumable way. It's actually up on the internet. It's running on my personal Azure subscription. So let's actually talk about the problems of why and how I've been able to ship so much code this year. Well, one of the problems that we have here at Microsoft is that we ship a lot of awesome products. And that may not seem like a problem, but it can be a problem where we talk about promoting those new releases and how we get feedback into a distilled form. So if you just look at the Visual Studio 2026 Insiders, we did a video, Mads posted on Reddit, we did tweets, we did Blue Sky posts, and we have a bunch of different comments in a bunch of different places. Now, traditionally, I'd go off and I have to go search and get all these comments and distill it all down, but wouldn't it be great if an AI could pull that together? And another problem that I actually have as a PM, as a program manager, is that I actually spend a tiny bit of time actually coding. It's the tiniest little sliver because I'm mostly just joining and leaving Teams calls all day every 30 minutes. So I only have this fraction of time. And in fact, as a developer, you actually only spend a fraction of your time coding because you're doing a bunch of other things, right? So you're doing research, testing, migrating, planning, architecting, designing. And funnily enough, Copilot can help with all of this. And you may have seen this slide before, but it's true. You can actually bring it all together to help streamline and get you back into the code, back into the flow. I think of Copilot as really the command center. Whether I'm in VS or VS Code, on GitHub.com, whether I'm doing pull requests or issue review, or I'm doing deeper research or discussions, Copilot can help me with everything across the entire stack of everything that I'm doing. And that's really what's really helped me ship more high quality code and develop more products than ever before. So this is what I built. I'm going to hop out to my desktop. So let's say I'm on Hacker News and GPT 5.2 just launched, and it's also readily available right here inside of Visual Studio Code. And let's say you wanted to get feedback on it. So I'm just going to grab this URL and I'm going to go over here and paste it into Feedback Flow. So now I have a bunch of different analysis. I have a custom prompt, and I can go off and start analyzing it. It's going to take a look and start gathering comments from this Hacker News thread. There's 562 of them. It is now going to go off. It's not going to take that long, but it's going to go and analyze and do a full report for me of all of these comments. So this is going off. It's pulling the Y Combinator API. It's then taking all those APIs, calling into my backend, which is calling Microsoft Foundry to do an AI analysis from it and return it back to it. It's also keeping track where I can store this information as well. This is a pretty big thread, but it's also doing threaded conversation as well. And I have to have confetti on everything. But now I can export this, I can share, I can speak it back, I can copy it. I'm going to share this publicly. I get a full link back, and I can see the full takeaway of the TLDR, feedback, platform information, key insights, patterns, and it even gives me user experience and engagement. And I could add a bunch of different ones in here. So I could add a bunch of URLs as well. I can also do reports so I can understand what's happening in different communities, like on Reddit, for example. I can save them, feed them, or I can just paste in anything in here as well and just get a full analysis back. So that's Feedback Flow. And this is an application that I started building earlier this year. So what is it in general, and how did I build it? Well, the architecture is that it's a Blazor application. It's a Blazor server application. I'm a C#.NET developer, so that's where I started on it. So that's the entire front end. I also have an MCP server, and I'll talk about how that works. But I want to be able to access this information and do the analysis from anywhere, even if I'm not directly on the website. I also have a remote MCP server that is hosted in Azure Functions as well, via the Bring Your Own MCP. All of these are calling into an Azure function that is my backend for my website, my MCP servers as well. And that is doing all of that communication, not only to the APIs, but also to blob storage, table storage, account registration, calling off to Microsoft Foundry, and I even have email reporting as well that is being called into Microsoft Communication. And then this is all Aspire-ified, and all of the telemetry is being piped into Application Insight. So it's a full end-to-end of this application that's deployed out there. So again, this is 100% built with Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, and GitHub Copilot. In fact, I wrote 0 lines of code by hand in this entire application in any of the parts that I just showed you. Everything 100% was generated by these tools. Reviewed by me, of course, happening locally on my machine, in background, and up on the cloud. Every time I had an idea, I gave it to Copilot, let it rip, reviewed it in staging, and merged it away. So how did I do it? Well, I had the idea back in April. I had this idea of going in. I actually got very lucky, and David Fowler had a beautiful command line tool to get some of these different sources of information. But I'm not a command line person. I want a beautiful GUI. So I broke down the problem, and day one, I started working with it. I broke it apart. I built out APIs. I structured the main web application. By day 2, I was improving the components of the application, started to add features, styling, and I actually had it spin up a full deployment to app service for me automatically. And at the end of day 2, I had a full working prototype. Now, it doesn't look as fancy as it does today because I just wanted to get it going. I wanted it to happen. But already within just a day, I had a way of selecting a source, going in here, selecting the exact same thing of a URL that we saw earlier, pasting it in, and doing an analysis. So you're saying, wow, 2 days, fully working prototype, deployed CI, like how did you do it? Did you sleep? Well, Copilot doesn't sleep, it's always working, and agent mode is always working as well. I did this a lot during the day as I was joining and leading Teams calls. Every time I had an idea and every time I was building out the application, I'd go into agent mode, I'd give it a prompt, and I'd let it rip. I really gave all into agent mode. I wanted to take and harness this new tool in my toolbox and really accelerate my application development and really get good at it. And agent mode is just that. It allows you to tackle those complex tasks locally in the background or in the cloud, and also integrate into deep parts of VS and VS Code and extend it with MCP. Now, you've seen it a whole bunch here at AI Dev Days, but again, the awesome part here is having an idea, planning it out, having it implement, and then going and getting it. I worked a lot specifically creating GitHub issues with the GitHub MCP, planning it and assigning it to background cloud agent tasks, and allowing it to work at all parts of the day for me, which is really cool. So as I started to build this out, I quickly realized I had to improve my prompts, add more context, draft up these ideas, and execute those plans as well. I was really early in my prompt engineering journey, so my prompts weren't that good. And as I started working deeper with agent mode, I realized that this was one of the very first things I needed to do. And to actually even get better, I really figured out that personalizing my workflow and giving it customizations were going to be really important. Just like I had a README or a style guide that I would give to other folks on my team, I could provide that same context to GitHub Copilot inside of agent mode, no matter where it was running, to help me get better results. And I'm going to talk about some of this here. And the first thing really is that Copilot instructions. This is something that really helped streamline my application development by giving an overview of the root space, understanding where the project lived, how to build, how to test it, what my development workflow was like with Aspire, the tech stack that it was at the time, now it's on it, .NET 10, and then specifically a deeper understanding of what I want out of my Blazor front end, of my CSS, and the theme support that I would have. And this would get sent with every single request. I also customized my instructions. I think that this is an overlooked feature here, but doing an apply to and having custom instructions specific for my Razor files or my CSS files or my C# files so I could get better, deeper results for those specifically. And the great part here is that we have Copilot instructions, but you can mix and match those with Agents MD as well. So whatever you're comfortable with working across multiple agents. I also think that prompts are your best friend. When I was building out this application, I was creating a lot of reusable components, and I found myself repeating my prompts over and over again. So when I finished something, I would ask Copilot to create a prompt file for me of the thing I just created, but in a generic way. So every time I create a new component, I could prompt it with this one prompt that would follow over and over again. And the custom agents are also new, but also very helpful because you can give it access to tools and ways of working specifically when doing different tasks. You might be doing work in an Azure function, in an MCP server, or you might just be doing generic C# or TypeScript work. You can have specific agents that are really good at that one task and specifying it out. And of course, MCP is your best friend. MCP for all the things. It is really something that I leverage time and time again. Not only amazing servers like deep integration with Playwright for UI testing, but GitHub for creating and managing my issues and assigning it to my agents and helping me deploy to Azure. Something I do often, for example, with the Microsoft Learn MCP server, is ask it how I can optimize my applications for C# and .NET. So here I'm asking it how I would optimize it, and it comes back with different ideas. I then ask it to draft a plan up and then create issues with it with the GitHub MCP. And I love all the models. There's new models every day. GPT-5.2, I just updated this right here. I pick different models for different parts of the job, whether I'm planning, whether I'm implementing, whether I'm targeting one specific thing or many things. I mix and match. I spin off new ideas with new models and let it rip, and I let it see what it can come up with. And then I review those results as well. And now it's really flexible. You can pick those models in the CLI, in the Cloud Agent, and locally inside of VS Code. And of course, if those models aren't good for you, you can bring your own key and mix and match and play around with different models as they're advancing. Now you might be saying, James, You love VS Code and Visual Studio, but I love the command line. Well, don't worry. As we saw earlier today, you have the full GitHub Copilot CLI ready to go at your fingertips. Not only just in your favorite terminal, mine's a Windows terminal, and Kayla has a great blog post that we'll drop a link to about how to customize your Windows terminal for Copilot with Oh My Posh and so much more. But of course, you can spin up background tasks directly inside of VS Code now and leverage Copilot CLI sessions as well. But then you're saying, James, well, not on my machine. I don't have time for that. Well, don't worry. The cloud agent is there for you that can spin up, and you can do so much more with it. I literally am using the cloud agent every single day. Literally right before this, I'm spinning up new tasks all the time. I can't help myself. I have an idea. I can just assign it right away. And in fact, I do most of that from the GitHub mobile application. I either do it on github.com, inside of VS Code, inside of Visual Studio, but a lot of times I'm just doing it directly on the repo. I'll actually work with Copilot on the mobile app to draft up an issue, create that issue, then assign it. But then sometimes I just have a simple task and I assign it right away directly inside of the GitHub mobile app based on my repo and let it rip. And then on my CI run, so I can validate everything. And in fact, this is how 90% of that Swift application was built with the background agent. Again, coming up with ideas, drafting it, assign it to Copilot with ease. And of course, you can customize and see any of this inside your CLI as well. And of course, I love being able to go in, start work, and then delegate things to coding agents or to background agents as well, directly from VS Code. So again, no matter where you're working, it all comes together. Now, I often litter my code with a bunch of to-dos, but don't worry, you can just assign to coding agent right there from that to-do as well. So anywhere where you're working. Now finally, you saw Den and I just talk about specs, and if you want more details, maybe vibes don't work for you, but vibes, they work for everybody. You have SpecKit. You just saw the deep dive that Den and I just did, and there's so much goodies in there, so definitely check that out. Okay, so in summary, okay, I know I sped through this, but honestly, you can do it. There's so much more. Honestly, think about saving every single second and every single keystroke. Think about Copilot commit messages, PR summaries, code reviews, ideation, issue creation, debugging, profiling of your application. There's so many capabilities that save you precious moments and times every single day. There's tons of good reads out there. Of course, just install the latest versions of Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. I rock Insiders, Team Green all day over here. Check out SpecKit. Check out app modernization. Check out my GitHub for all these goodies. Everything that I do is open source, so check it out there. And also check out a great blog by Simon Willison about vibe engineering to go deeper on vibe coding and so much more. And of course, tune in to the VS Code Insiders podcast. There you go. I can do it. You can do it. Check it out. GitHub Copilot, VS Code, Coding Agent, CLI. It all comes together, and it's how you use these amazing tools in your toolbox every day to make you even more productive.